What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video we're going to look into Warren Buffett's trading style and how we as investors can emulate his trading philosophy to ensure that our trading portfolios do the best that they possibly can in the long term. We will look into some of his most famous quotes as well as his current portfolio holdings. But as always, before we get into today's video, if you're new around here, please consider subscribing to this channel as we're currently on 289 subscribers and our next goal is to get to 300. So with that being said, let's dive right into today's video. So probably the best way to get to know investors' philosophy and mantra behind investing is to look at some of their most famous quotes. And Warren Buffett, like many other investors, have some brilliant quotes that are down in the record books as some of the most famous that were ever said. Some of my favorite quotes are: rule number 1 is to never lose money, and rule number 2 is never to forget rule number 1. Another one would be: price is what you pay and value is what you get. Another quote that I like is that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and only 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about it that way, you'll do things differently. And just two more quotes. The first being: diversification is a protection against ignorance. It makes little sense if you know what you're doing, and that is certainly the case. And finally, another very important quote that Buffett came up with was that the most important investment you can make is in yourself. Before we dive into Buffett's portfolio, just a brief history on Warren Buffett. He's an American investor, business tycoon, philanthropist, and the chairman of the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He is considered one of the most successful investors in the world and has a net worth of $78.9 billion as of August 2020, making him the world's 7th wealthiest person. When looking at Warren Buffett's and Berkshire Hathaway's two main portfolios, they are split down to Berkshire Hathaway Class A and Berkshire Hathaway Class B. Now there are some substantial differences, especially in the cost of one of these shares. For example, currently Berkshire Hathaway Class A is at $320,844, which for the average investor certainly isn't accessible. Whereas with Class B, it is currently $212. So again, that's roughly around the same price as an Apple stock or a Facebook stock. So that's definitely more accessible for the average investor. So we can currently see on screen Warren Buffett's overall portfolio on Berkshire Hathaway. We have the likes of Amazon, Apple, Bank of America, Bank of New York, Barrick Gold, for example, more banking sectors in the form of JP Morgan and Chase, healthcare sectors such as Johnson & Johnson, more financial sectors such as MasterCard, different aristocrats such as P&G. We have the likes of Suncor Energy, we have US Bancorp, Verizon, Visa, Wells Fargo, and so on, with a combined total value of 12 digits, which is an absolutely ridiculous number to have in your portfolio, of $238,213,935,208, which is absolutely mind-blowing to have in a portfolio. And certainly, like, when you even look at my own portfolio of $3,500, it's crazy to see how this kind of portfolio has accumulated up to 12-figure sums, and it's in the billions. So it's unbelievable how over the years Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett have accumulated such a large amount of wealth. We can see on Yahoo Finance's 5-year chart of Berkshire Hathaway Class A that 5 years ago it was worth about 200 or so thousand, and it is currently up to over 310 or 15,000 at the moment, which is quite an impressive gain for such a large sized portfolio over the last 5 years. And in terms of Berkshire Hathaway's Class B stock, it has quite the same pattern over the last 5-year period, albeit more of a dip during the crash at the start of March this year. But on 5 years ago, it started off at about $136 a share and is currently up to about $214. So again, as an ETF over the last 5 years, that is quite impressive gains by all stretches of the imagination. So definitely Class A and Class B have been doing very well over the last 5 years. But like the majority investors over the last few months, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway have been hit quite hard also. We can see down below that Warren Buffett's personal fortune has declined by 7.3 billion, which is a crazy amount, in the past year alone. Forbes said on Tuesday, more in dollar terms than anyone else on the Forbes 400 list of richest Americans. We also can see, in terms of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's conglomerate was down 5% in 2020, with the Forbes 500 was calculated on July 24th, so that was a few months ago. Obviously it has improved since then, and shares have since recovered. So with all that being said, that kind of brings the end to today's brief video on how to invest like Warren Buffett, some of his most famous quotes, his current portfolios, both Berkshire Hathaway Class A and Class B, and their performance over the last 5 years. Hopefully today's video will help some new beginner investors out to seeing what it takes to become such a successful investor like Warren Buffett. And as always, if you're new around here, please consider smashing that like button and hitting that red subscribe button, as it would really help the channel out going forward. Also, please comment below if you have any suggestions or comments to make on Warren Buffett's portfolio, and if you would do anything differently, or do you think he's outdated, or do you believe that his old trading strategies are still just as good in today's economy. Thanks very much guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.